6x4. We all do. Well, the 4x1 for the, I guess that's the sooner question that'll be answered about Bromell, right? Does he run the 4x1? Because you think
It will.
you're gonna go ahead.
I would like to point out that the last time I was on this, you guys were saying, here's going to be the relay. And you guys named out the women's relay that did not include Tiana Daniels. That was fine. Okay. I
Yeah,
didn't
we were
agree, but it
wrong.
was fine. And look, and you guys were wrong. And now we go to the men's 4x1, and I'm pretty sure left out Fred Curley because you guys weren't really sure how it was going to be going, who
Yeah.
if they would throw Noah Lyles on. Now all of a sudden, the one person who made it on the U.S. team, Tiana Daniels, and then Fred Curley medaled. So
Hmm.
it's just kind of like both are probably high chance of being on the relay now. So
Yeah.
a little bit of an underdog statement there.
Are you saying we got something wrong, Serenity? I've never gotten anything wrong on this podcast. I was predicting Jacobs to win the
I just
gold,
wanted to point out you
going,
guys getting wrong.
yeah. Yeah. Well, what the good thing for the coaches is these events happen before the relay. You don't have to do the relay on day
Mhm.
one. You don't have to write it in permanent marker and say this is my squad. So now you've seen everybody race in the 100 that you had, and you can make adjustments from there. I mean, obviously the 200 is going to weigh heavy in this because if Noah Lyles shows up big time in the 200, you're going to put him in there. Remember, Kenny Bednarik was fourth in the 100. So putting him in the 4x1 isn't a stretch, particularly if he runs really well in the 200. But my question would be Bromell, right? That's where we would know, hey, is this guy fully ready to go? Was it just a bad set of races for him in the 100 in the individual event, or is there a bigger issue? I think that's what we'll find out. If we see him in the race, we'll know, okay, yeah, he's feeling good, he's healthy, he's ready to give this a shot. Because let's be honest, the 4x1 is the U.S. is for the taking at this point. You mentioned no Jamaicans made the 100-meter final. Gordon and I talked about South Africa being a sleeper team there, and they still could be, but Simbine didn't have the big final that we thought he would. So I would guess Great Britain is pretty motivated after having back-to-back DQs between Prescott and Zarnell Hughes, and Canada's always in the mix. But the U.S. would be the big favorite just in terms of depth. And you gotta, I mean, we're scrolling here. You try to find three or four. It's not like years past where you'd say, oh, 4 of the top 10 are from Jamaica. 3 of the top 8 are from the U.S. It's you got to go a little bit deeper, but I think the U.S. would be the favorite. Handoffs aside, right? Anytime you talk about the any relay in the 4x1, you got to put
That
that
was the
separate.
main
But
thing I
just
was going to mention.
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah,
handoffs. I think the excitement of it being very wide open, I do think that it's in the USA's hands. Me being biased, I do think that we're going to be able to carry it on. But how wide open it is, that's what makes it exciting. How
yeah,
unpredictable that 100 was, that's what the sport is all about, really.
yeah. Well, and because of Bowl, we never really wondered from 2008 through
Hmm.
2016. And the fall start in 2011, okay, but then Blake won, and Blake was the guy that we thought would win in 2011. Then you go to 2017, where Bolt gets upset and it's a big shock, but the person who beat him had won before. And then you go to 2019, and everybody assumed Coleman was going to win, and he won. It had been a while since we went into a men's 100-meter final, and it was actually anybody's race. And it wasn't just a cliche to say, hey, it's anybody's race. No, it literally was like there were guys who could have won that race who most track fans probably hadn't heard of until the semis or the first round. Like that's how anonymous some of these guys were. Now you had, people like DeGrasse who had been around, and Baker and Curley who people were familiar with, but even Jacobs, I think most track fans were not following his career that closely until this year when he started breaking 10 seconds.
Yeah, I think the transition from, like you said, the ones that we were just used to, always bet on no brainers for us. The vet, we like to call them. the transition from them into this newer generation and it just being completely wide open,
Mhm.
and it's extremely shocking. I like to see it. I was not following Jacobs at all
Yeah,
before this
yeah,
meet, so this was very surprising.
yeah. Well, and then to look ahead, just real briefly to next year, if we assume Coleman comes back, right? Like the event in his absence hasn't got like Bromel's run fast, run a 10:77, but a 9:8 winning time. It's like, okay, Coleman's confident that he can match up with that. And then is Lyle's going to come back to the 100? There's a lot of interesting questions in the men's 100 coming back, just as the same as there is going to be obviously for the women's 100 when you throw people back in there. And Coleman's been watching. He said next season will be worth the
Mm-hmm.
wait. So 20
Oh wow.
on the 2022 on the sprint side is going to be awesome because you got the veterans, you got the people coming up, you got some people who missed these Olympics who could have factored in or would have factored into the medals. Shouldn't even say could have, would have factored into the medals. So it'll be terrific. Let's talk about